Summer 1941. The thunder of German panzers shakes the Soviet Union. Cities crumble, armies retreat, and the world watches as the Red Colossus seems ready to collapse. Yet, in this chaos, one question spread like wildfire. Where was Joseph Stalin? What was the Soviet leader doing while his empire faced annihilation? Even during the war itself, whispers filled the air. Some claimed Stalin was struck by fear, retreating into silence. Others believed he was calmly plotting every move behind closed doors. And decades later, the debate remains unresolved. Was Stalin missing at the darkest hour, or was he the hidden hand guiding survival? This is not just military history. It is a story of shadows, secrets, and the making of a myth. June 22, 1941, Barbarossa begins. At dawn, Hitler unleashed the largest invasion in human history. Millions of troops surged across the Soviet frontier. So, where was Stalin? Records place him at his Kuntsevo dacha outside Moscow. He had been warned countless times, yet refused to believe the attack was imminent. When the bombs fell, witnesses say Stalin was shaken, sitting in silence, cigarette after cigarette, unable to react. He didn't even speak to the nation himself. Instead, Foreign Minister Molotov addressed the people. For many, the silence of the father of nations was chilling. Did Stalin really disappear? Or was this the first spark of a legend that outlived him? For an entire week, June 2000 to 129, accounts of Stalin's actions are contradictory. Some insist he abandoned the Kremlin, isolating himself at his dacha. Others recall constant meetings, signatures, and directives. Khrushchev's memoirs painted him as paralyzed, muttering, "Have you come to arrest me?" when his comrades arrived. But surviving orders carry his handwriting, and generals reported direct conversations. Was Khrushchev rewriting history to weaken Stalin's legacy? This remains one of the great puzzles of World War I. In those early days, Stalin seemed absent in public, yet decisions bearing his name shaped the war effort. The eye of the storm. By October 1941, German forces were at the gates of Moscow. Panic consumed the capital. Ministries evacuated east. Trains overflowed with refugees. Most expected Stalin to flee. Instead, he stayed. His choice became one of the defining images of his rule. To some, it was bravery. To others, a calculated act of propaganda. On November 7th, as German forces stood only 30 kilometers away, Stalin presided over the Red Square parade. Soldiers marched before him and went directly to the front lines. The signal was clear: Moscow would fight. The Supreme Commander. By mid-July, Stalin consolidated power, naming himself People's Commissar of Defense and then Supreme Commander-in-Chief. Every military decision now passed through him. He was not a strategist by training. Early on, his rigid no-retreat orders destroyed armies and cost millions of lives. But by 1942, he adapted. Listening more to Zhukov, Vasilevsky, and Rokossovsky, he balanced control with expert advice. The Red Army's campaigns became less reckless, more professional. Stalingrad, the turning point. In 1942, the war's momentum shifted. The city that bore his name became a symbol of defiance. Stalin never set foot on the front, but his shadow was everywhere. He rejected all talk of surrender, authorized the encirclement plan known as Operation Uranus, and ensured that German forces would be trapped. For the Soviet people, the victory was not just military. It was psychological. Stalin's iron will was portrayed as the force that refused to break, from dictator to statesman. By 1943, Stalin no longer appeared as an isolated tyrant. Sitting at tables with Roosevelt and Churchill, he demanded influence over Eastern Europe and shaped the post-war world order. He had transformed from a man suspected of paralysis in 1941 into one of the Big Three, the masters of global destiny. The fall of Berlin. By 1945, the Red Army crushed all resistance on its march to Berlin. Stalin, far from the front, dictated operations from Moscow. Every commander knew the last word came from him. When Berlin finally fell and Hitler was dead, Stalin emerged as a victor, the man who turned disaster into triumph. Conclusion: between fear and power. So, where was Stalin during the war? At times, hidden in his dacha. At times, buried in documents in the Kremlin. At times, on the world stage, dividing continents. He was never the flawless hero of propaganda, nor the coward of his enemies' tales. He was something darker, a survivor who sacrificed millions, yet steered his state to victory. Stalin was both a man and a myth, and his shadow still lingers in the story of World War I.